Like all Miraculous Ladybug episodes past Season 2, this episode has a lot of controversy surrounding it. We open with Andre the Ice Cream Man playing matchmaker with Marinette and Adrian. This scene becomes a lot less heartwarming when you realize that in later episodes, Andre sells ice cream without a permit or any regulation. Yeah, if you'll think Adrian and Marinette will kiss here, ha! Adrian gets called away, and Alia and Nino talk about the Diamonds Dance, basically a gathering of rich people and their kids. This means the likes of Chloe will be at that dance. Yay! And Kagami's also going because her mom is also super rich and is also a villain in this season. There's also the mention of Zoe and how she hates these dances because, well, they're all full of hypocritical idiots. Look, I'm just going to say it here. I honestly wish Zoe actually went to the Diamond Dance, mainly because Zoe despising it while being there would have so much more interesting interactions than just this nonsense. Maybe show off the fact that she can legitimately act, or maybe show off that she's more than just a sentient monster created out of Astruck's hatred of Chloe, because Zoe is the dullest character in the entire Team Miraculous, and that's saying something. Basically, Marinette's going to take Zoe's place at the Diamonds Dance. Meanwhile, the two dolts who gave themselves terminal illnesses to steal jewelry from children that turned themselves into furries argue over whether Adrian should be Gabriel's puppet or not. For whatever reason, Adrian and Kagami are being shipped by their parents, which is weird. While I do enjoy the antics at the ball, which include Chloe interacting with Marinette as if they're equals while Chloe is still a jerk, the real focus is on not Adrian and Kagami. Clearly Felix is talking about puppets being tangled in strings as if he's Pinocchio, or in this case, Ultron. Kagami goes on about how she's descended from samurai women and follows the orders of her mother because she wants to. This is so cringe because it has real fortune cookie honor-obsessed samurai stereotypes. Really wish that was an actual daimyo clan on the ring. Maybe it is, but I don't recognize it, mainly because it's not a mon. I have my own problems with this scene that I'll get into later. Marinette eventually confronts not Adrian, and Felix reveals himself, gets a very underwhelming, not full transformation sequence, and creates Red Moon. It's a red moon. With a snap of Felix's fingers, anyone bathed in its light can disappear. After throwing Marinette in a dumpster, wonder what joke I could make with that, he gets the whole song and dance number where he Thanos snaps random guys on the street. After this, he fights Ladybug. Felix gains the upper hand and reveals he wants to wish on the Ladybug and Cat Miraculous for a better, freer world. Oh boy. Ladybug gets no lucky charm out of this, but don't worry, she takes the gamble of letting Felix get exactly what he wants and snaps her out of existence. Kagami is pissed. Adrian is also pissed. Partially because he kidnapped Adrian, partially because he snapped everyone in Paris out of existence, and checking on the dumpster does not endear Felix to anyone because Marinette is not there, and his failed attempts to bring her back into existence does not endear him to anyone present, so he has to control Z everyone. Felix brings back everyone, including Marinette, and then snuffs out Red Moon, which hurts him more than it should because they're both sentient monsters. Gabe's pissed that Marinette crashed the ball in the first place. The end. Oh, and Lila swears vengeance. This episode is good for everyone that is not Felix or Kagami. I love the concept of Marinette winning by losing. I mean, my favorite scene in all superhero movies is Dormammu, I've Come to Bargain, where Doctor Strange basically wins by losing. Forcing Felix to destroy what basically is a relative is a good climax. If we were playing this all straight and not trying to make Felix come off as a more complicated character than he actually is, that's a recurring problem with him. The problem with Felix is that it's really hard to feel any sympathy for him for his later appearances. First, he impersonates Adrian without any need to, really. All he could have done is crash the ball. Hell, given that his mother is also super rich and his father is, well, dead, but was an American tycoon, he really could have just gotten invited to this and just, well, crashed it regularly. There's also literally emptying Paris with sadistic glee. His defeat is satisfying, sure. His future appearances where he tries to be a sympathetic character just come off as unnerving and jarring because, again, sadism is really hard to bounce back through, especially when you do it to an entire city. Like, did no one bother to check the implications, or were they running under the philosophy of it ends when the credits roll? Because you're going to have issues with that when you're serializing a series like this. Also, he ends up in a relationship with Kagami later. Kagami comments that Adrian, really Felix, is much stronger than she wishes he was earlier because they could have had a better relationship this way, but he has feelings for Marinette. Kagami is clearly not noticing that Felix is Adrian, but at the same time, the implications make Kagami look really bad because it comes off as her choosing Felix later as a replacement for Adrian, like as if she was upgrading a phone. Man, is Alia and Nino the only competently written romance in this entire series? Then there's Felix's motivation for this. Felix hates Monarch. Understandable. Gabe is a horrible person. Felix also hates Ladybug for being the one to divide up and gatekeep who gets what powers. Felix wants to use the Ladybug and Cat Miraculous to wish the world into one of freedom and no gatekeeping, no puppetry, no strings on me. Insert Ultron here. Where do I begin with this motivation? As stupid as Marinette is, she is no Monarch, so equating the two is idiotic. Second, if you're worried about gatekeeping who gets what powers, I think Felix is a good example of why we should gatekeep who should get what powers, mainly because great power requires great responsibility and all that, and the fact that he took sadistically in snapping Paris out of existence, and for no reason just kidnapped Adrian and impersonated him. My problem isn't that bad guy does bad guy things. My problem is that they're trying to portray him going completely nutso god mode, no responsibility, as somewhat of a sympathetic play. Marinette actually feels sympathy for him during their fight. And more of, okay, Marinette, you should really feel that this guy is completely insane and has no idea what he's doing. Mainly because he does have no idea what he's doing. And honestly, I think her taking advantage of the fact that he has no idea what he's doing would have been stronger than trying to play sympathetic for the Senti monster right here. Again, bad guy does bad guy things isn't the problem here. The problem here is that they later try to make him more sympathetic, in which they are failing at it because the scope and the motivations are just so out there that you simply cannot feel sympathy for him. The more about how the rich suck feels really tacked on here. It seems to just criticize rich kids for being stuck-up jerks, but it doesn't exactly critique how the rich suck beyond they're stuck-up jerks. You can't even say they're asshole victims here. They end up joining Paris and get painted into the background later. They're so out of focus that the moral is sort of This is a solid episode, except for the weird convoluted nonsense Felix does, like impersonating Adrian, and just snapping people out of existence in a song and dance number just out of sadistic glee, and the whole Marinette being sympathetic to his control freak tendencies. This feels like setup for later arcs, but the setup is actually squandered, and I feel like this is why my opinion of this episode has soured, mainly because he does appear later on, and he feels so aimless to the point that this is the strongest part of his Season 5 arc, and I don't think that benefited him in any way. And, of course, there's the whole relationship with Kagami being set up here, which is, yikes. So sad that Felix, after gaining the Peacock Miraculous, seems to just squander it. Those are just my thoughts on the episode. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.